All right. And we are live, and we just had something popping up because we're live from Cayman Island, where we spend the week with our mastermind member, trading live, talking about trading, talking about different strategies, and having lots of fun. And there's a lot happening in the market. So today is the big day. CPI data was released. We have been waiting for it the whole week. Also, yesterday afternoon, the Fed meeting minutes were released. So, two big events that are moving the markets. And yes, the markets are moving this morning. So, shocker in the CPI report. We also had Delta Airlines reporting earnings. We had Hurricane Milton making landfall in Florida. So, how does this impact the markets? As you can see, there's lots to talk about. And with that said, let's get started. So, welcome to Coffee with Markus and Mark. And in this show, we are going to talk to you about what's happening in the markets and how we are trading it. And today is Thursday, October 10th.
It is.
All right. Let's see what is happening. I think we start with yesterday afternoon, where markets finished yesterday afternoon, because what a surprise. Let me share my iPad here. So, yesterday, surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. We knew this week was about inflation data. And yes, we had that afternoon Fed minutes release, but the markets just opened and rallied after the open and made session highs early on in the day before the Fed meeting minutes.
Yeah, and then during the Fed meeting minutes, they were diddling around, and after this, making new all-time highs,
Yeah.
both in the S&P 500 and the Dow. Who would have known that on a day where there was actually nothing going on, yeah, we make new all-time highs.
Sure, it seemed like it could be a diddle day, but it just kept moving up. And then we had some more data this morning that we expected could be a market mover.
We expected, but yesterday, I mean, let's just talk about the Fed meeting minutes. So, I mean, the meeting minutes showed that the Fed officials were divided whether to cut their rates by half a percent point or not. But Powell said, "Come on, guys, let's do this," and this is where they did it. However, this is where we see the front wasn't as united as they wanted us to believe. Like, oh yeah. I mean, most of the governors, except Michelle Bowman, said, "Oh yeah, half percentage point. That's good." It seems that there were a 2-day long discussion before it hits the wire and the bell rang. Paul said, "All right, what are we gonna do now? Let's do it. Let's do half point. Let's do half point."
Well, half point it was, and interesting to see that it wasn't unanimous, and maybe there were some that were holding off or shared their concerns.
Yeah. And then this morning, the big release, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. And I'm showing here a 5-minute chart of the E-mini S&P. And we see that at first, yesterday, during the Asian session, we were moving higher because the Asian markets, especially the Chinese markets, bounced back after selling off for 2 days. So that was good news. During the European session, market participants got a little bit more nervous. And then we see that markets were not going anywhere before we had the big release at 7:30, 1 hour before the markets opened this morning.
And 1 hour before markets open, there was some data that got things moving a little bit.
Absolutely. As you can see, this super long bar at first moving higher, then moving lower, and then trying to figure out what the heck is happening here. And this is related to the CPI data that was released this morning. So let's take a look at the economic calendar here. That's actually for next week. There we go, this week.
So, core CPI up a tick, 0.3%, also the same that we had the prior month, but higher than expected. CPI data up a tick, which was higher than expected, but same as last month. And CPI year over year, 2.4%, which was a tick higher than forecast, but a tick lower than last month. And actually, this was the lowest year over year number since I think it was February 2021, or at least 2021.
Yeah. We talked about it yesterday. I mean, of course, we would have loved to see the numbers that were forecasted, right? So that inflation is coming down any further. But I mean, at least we didn't have a huge surprise to the upside. I mean, if we had seen here that the CPI year over year would have increased from 2.5 to 2.6, 2.7. That's when we would have seen that the markets are selling off. This, it's not hotter than expected, it's warmer than expected. It's a little bit disappointing, and therefore the reaction was kind of muted because at the same time, we had the weekly unemployment claims hitting the wire.
Sure, and we see that 258,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment. This was higher than what was expected, also higher than last week.
Yeah, I mean, huge big number, and this is where, okay, now the Fed is stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because on the one hand, they have the dual mandate. Inflation needs to come down, employment needs to come up, right? So this is where, okay, what are they doing right now? In order to bring inflation down, they need to keep interest rates at the level where it is. On the other hand, they don't want to jeopardize that the economy slows down, which basically would mean that the labor market got worse and that we see more layoffs. And this is where this number kind of shocking.
Yeah, and it is weekly claim, so this is something to keep an eye on. It's current, but the jobs report Friday, which was so strong, is still something to really keep in mind there. I think that what this tells us though is that a quarter point on the table is the highest probability, which we can see.
Right.
A half point is not on the table at all. And there's some interest in maybe keeping rates the same.
Right. So
But
here we see the probabilities, Fed
yep,
fund futures traders right now. Nothing has changed, which was kind of a little bit surprising this morning. We thought that there would be a change. We talked about it yesterday, but still, 88.4% are thinking probability of a quarter percentage cut and the 11%, right, kind of token of no change at all in interest rates. I mean, we're still in the camp of a quarter percent cut, but it's really, really interesting how traders are reacting to the news. And this is where you see kind of like, what are we thinking? Okay, it's bad that inflation seems to remain sticky, but on the other hand, is the Fed lowering rates because we have the higher weekly claims? And again, it's just weekly claims. What we see after the initial push lower, we're just kind of diddling along, and traders are saying, okay, what the heck is
yeah.
going on?
And that's the thing. I think what this chart tells us is that now traders are saying, okay, what about PPI?
Probably, because if we also look a little bit at the charts here, and you see this where I like CNBC and their charts here, we see that okay, the consumer price index, even though the core CPI, this is the dotted line, this is less food and energy, right? The core CPI kind of ticked up a little bit. We see that overall CPI is nicely coming down. So it seems that even though we had a tick higher than expected, it wasn't really super, super bad news. The only bad news are the prices of eggs.
Tell me about it.
So, I mean, I saw this here that eggs have actually, egg prices leaped 8.5% in a month,
Wow.
which means that now they're up 39% for the year.
That's a lot.
Time to put chickens in the backyard.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyhow, as we can see, so the number, again, a little bit disappointment, and this is what we see today in the chart. So if you go back to the indices and see where we are standing for the day, we opened lower in the S&P 500, but we are trading right around the opening price right now, which means we're down 0.2%. In the Dow, we are down 0.3%. We're coming off the lows. The NASDAQ, actually the strongest comeback so far, also down 0.2%. The Russell down 0.7%. So basically meaning, okay, traders are kind of shaking off the news and pay attention to what's happening tomorrow because big, 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 big day tomorrow.
Yes. And typically CPI is the bigger of the two, but when I think you have this, type of report and that combined with unemployment claims, traders want to know what comes next. And right now that's PPI. And jobs. Or no.
Oh,
And earnings, not jobs.
and earnings season kicking off tomorrow with the banks, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Bank of New
Yep.
York Mellon. They are all reporting, kicking off officially the earnings season, and we will hear from Jamie Dimon, who always has something interesting to say. And it seems that over the past 2 or 3 years, people started paying attention to what Jamie Dimon has
Sure.
to say, the CEO of the largest bank in America, JP Morgan, in addition to what usually our good JP Powell thinks or Jerome Powell thinks. So we will see what he has to say tomorrow.
Kicking off earnings season.
Yeah. So also today before the bell, Delta reporting earnings, and look at this. I mean, the earnings were kind of disappointing because we saw they had a miss, both in terms of earnings and in terms of revenue.
Yeah, so top and bottom numbers look pretty rough, but then also their guidance for 2024, they dropped that down, and investors at first not too happy. Down 5% at one point pre-market, but it's since come back.
Yeah, down 0.5% now, so it seems to bounce back. And again, right now, it seems that traders are just super optimistic and shaking off all sorts of news and say, okay, no big deal. And I mean, the question is, when will the traders and investors start paying attention to the news and say, oh, maybe it is a little bit a bigger deal? Because in addition to Delta Airlines, we also had Domino's Pizza, DPZ, reporting earnings, and also Domino's Pizza initially sliding on earnings that they reported.
Yeah, look at that. And earnings beat, but revenue miss, and now positive.
Now positive. I mean, really just shaking it off, right? One more thing, Generac Holdings. We talked about this. The Generac generators after Hurricane Milton made landfall last night, a little bit earlier than expected. Today, down 2.8%. But if you look at a 5 minute chart, also, I mean, was down as much as 5%, 4.5%, and now a little bit bouncing back here.
Yeah, and this is where we saw that there was that run up with the hurricane prior to making landfall, and insurers were getting hammered prior to landfall, but now insurers have bounced back as well.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the heat map here, we see it's kind of mixed, and we see that we do have a few sectors that are standing out. We have the insurance right here that is kind of green. We do have oil and gas today moving higher, and we also have some of the utilities trading in green. But overall, we see it is pretty mixed,
Yeah.
mainly red, with a few popping out like Nvidia, Adobe popping out here, and then these two sectors that we just mentioned.
Yep.
All right. Well, but that said, let's take a look at our positions. And WTF, we have a lot of positions going on, and we did have two exits today. First off, Johnson and Johnson, and you've been in this one for quite a while, right? This
Yeah.
was a little bit a longer trade.
It was, and so we had a real nice entry and a nice pop from the first day or two, but then we didn't get an exit signal, pull back a little bit. Still closed it for a win though. I think it was about a dollar win.
Yeah, I think it closed at 161.39 and entered at 160.24, so around $1 here. And very similar in MO, Altria Group. So we did have an exit signal this morning. That's where we entered at 49.70. And then this morning, I believe we closed it right around 50-50-ish, somewhere around there. So 80 cents, but hey, a win is a win. We'll take both
Yeah,
wins.
absolutely.
All right, no new signals today, which is not surprising because the strategy is called WTF, win the fear. And when markets are making new all-time highs like yesterday, there was no fear in the markets yesterday. A little bit different this morning, so we will see what happens tomorrow. And we do have a bunch of open positions. AEP, we skipped this one. Did not
Yes.
trade this. We did trade AMT. AMT down 0.9% today, real estate company. We did get the dividend, or not yet paid, but we were entitled to the dividend, so this will get paid on October 25th. Here we entered at 222, right now trading at 218, like $3.50 lower
Yeah.
than we entered. Duke Energy, as I said, Energies today
Look
having
at
a
that.
great day, up 1.5%. So Duke Energy this morning, giving us some fun. We
Nice
entered at
rally.
111, right now trading almost at 113. So a $2 win so far. That might be an exit signal tomorrow.
It could be.
It could be. All right. We didn't trade KDP. We did trade Coca-Cola, ticker symbol KO. Today, with the overall market slightly down, still trading at around our entry price, entered at 70.05. Right now, 69.35, so down 70 cents. And then MDLZ, a little bit all over the place this morning, opening higher, pulling back here a little bit, and just trading $1 below our entry price.
Yep.
Nicely bouncing off the 200-day moving average here.
Perfectly.
All right, Procter & Gamble, next on the list. So we entered at 169.16, trading at 168.81, down 30 cents. So that is hanging in there today, down 0.3% with the overall market. And Ross, I mean, this is one that we really like because we entered this open below entry. We took this a day later after the signal. Got in at 140.25, right now trading at 140.91. So trading higher. Nothing for us to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So these are the WTF trades, and then hopping over to our wheel trades. And on the wheel trades, first, let's talk about BP. There we go. BP, stock that you're in, not in this one. And with oil prices bouncing back a little bit today, BP higher, 0.8%. We talked about it. If you look at the heat map, we see that oil and gas today higher. And this is definitely helping out the BP trade.
It is. Nothing to do right now for me, but nice to see that reversal yesterday and some follow through today.
Right. Then we also have Halliburton also moving higher today. Here we go. Up 1.4%. Getting close to my break even. Nothing yet to do right here. I need to wait a little bit until we move higher, but nicely showing this this double bottom that we have been talking about and moving higher here right now with a brief blip, but now continuing its march higher.
Yeah, headed in the right direction.
Yeah. CSIQ, our little buddy. I mean, after this massive jump, I mean, not heading in the right direction. And I saw that this is mainly because we had Jeffries downgrading First Solar today. So First Solar was downgraded today. As you can see, First Solar today losing 8.3%. And in the wake of this, CSIQ being dragged down, CSIQ down 4.6%. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, if Jeffries downgrades First Solar, which is the largest solar company in the U.S., right, this is affecting the overall sector. And our goal, hopes, and dreams was that we are staying above 15. So right now we're dipping slightly below. Day is not over yet, and we have seen that we can see very quick bounces back. So let's just draw a new trend line right here and put arrows on the chart.
That's the way to do.
That's the way to do it. Okay. KSS, Coles a little bit all over the place today. Kind of up again, 0.5%. And this has been just nicely trading in a range and made a little bit over $16,000 in realized profits by collecting premium. And now just needs to move higher again.
Your break even's perfect right there. Snookered right in between the upper and lower range. Yeah, that works.
Let's bring this down a little bit more. And then Merck being Merck and doing its own thing yesterday had a phenomenal up day. So yesterday up 1.6%, which is a big move for Merck. This morning, opening higher right now, pulling back with the overall market. So down 0.6%, nothing for me to do right here. All right. So we got to see what the markets are doing today, if they are still diddling along or if they are finally moving up or moving down. And before we do this, it is time for dad jokes. What do you got for us today?
Well, Marcus, you talked about the price of eggs, and inflation, and I think that this is appropriate for that conversation. How do you make an egg roll?
I know you
You
push it.
push it.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Um,
Sorry, that was bad.
well, okay. Wait for
There's
this.
a high bar to get over here.
I know. So, can a frog jump higher than a house?
Yes,
Yes.
because houses can't jump.
Oh man! You're right. Jeez. Okay. I stole your punchline. You stole
I
mine.
had to do it
Okay.
to you. I had to do it to you. That was a
All right.
bad day for dad jokes.
Okay, bad day for dad jokes. Still, hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll take a look at what the market is doing. And we see that the S&P still diddling along, however, trading at the highs of this range here right now. Now still down, but down 0.15%. Very similar to the Dow, just diddling along, waiting for some impulses here. And the Nasdaq trading at session highs right now. We saw it on the heat map. Nvidia is doing it again and probably just saving the market here this morning.
Could be.
So, with that said, I mean, for today, I would not expect to have new all-time highs because, as said yesterday, tomorrow, PPI and earnings being reported.
Exactly. So I expect a diddle and maybe some activity tomorrow.
Yeah. Anyhow, so there might be some action tomorrow. However, we will not be here tomorrow because we would just enjoy some time on the beach tomorrow. That's what we
Yes.
decided to do.
Yes.
Anyhow, hope that you enjoyed today's show. If you did, give us a like. We really appreciate this. And leave a comment after the show how you liked our dad jokes. And if you feel that this was information worth sharing, there's a share button right underneath. Please feel free to share it. And oh, yeah, I have a new video. I'll link to it right here somewhere. Okay, we'll link it to it there. Check it out. And we'll see you again on Monday.
Happy trading, everybody.